Yeah, I'm ready.
So it's just a perfect bodyboarding way.
Lastimó toda la cara y los dientes me chirrían un
Didn't
poco.
even jump off my board. I just tried to choke Jason Brown.
The windpipe.
What's up, everybody? This is Manny V, and welcome to another interview here on boogLIFE. Today, we have the man himself who was able to get some amazing words, I'm sure, from the icon himself, Tom Morey. Mike Del Nino, thank you so much for taking the time to talk and also doing what you did. Thank you so much.
Dude, appreciate it, man. It's been 5 years since we have hooked up, believe it or not. I mean, I
It
called
feels
you
like
five.
yesterday.
Yeah, well, for me, it seems like 100 years ago because I'm old and you're young, and that's the way that works. But yeah, like 5 years ago, I made that call to you, and then you made that call back. I finally hooked up with Tom, and I just can't believe it's been that long, man. It's been quite a journey. But then I did the screenplay, and then 5 years later, I wrote the book. So kind of in between all that, I went bodyboarding.
Well, let's backtrack a little bit. Let's start from the beginning. Like, where did the idea come from for the book, or did the screenplay come before? I mean, let's just fill in our audience.
So basically, I've always had this thing about wanting to be in the entertainment business and acting and all that stuff when I was in college. But I went a different direction, and then I'd say about 20 years ago, I got heavy into bodyboarding, like really heavy. Like um, like my first board was a Ben Player, pro, and then I did, like the Jacob Romero, and then I get into three Ronin boards, and then the next thing I know, I loved it. And so bodyboarding was just something I really got into and really loved, and I just kind of meshed that together with my entertainment thing, and it just kind of came together. And then one day I was watching uh, the video. I was cruising through and I was finding a lot of stuff about Tom Morey. And I was like, I found this video that you did. And I think it was a YouTube video actually. And it was basically something about universal numbers. Do you remember this video? Like your
Yes,
interview
it
when you
actually
went to,
was a Book Life
it
interview.
wasn't, it was a podcaster.
It was a podcast.
Because I went back and I thought I had bookmarked it and whatever, and I tried to find it and kind of, refresh my memory on what it was all about. 'Cause it was, Tom was, how Tom was such an unusual person, right? You had done the interview and I was watching the interview and it's going like universal numbers, and man, he was out there. He was a smart guy, and that's what turned me on to kind of calling you up and like, hey, here's the deal. So I always wanted to write a screenplay, and I was looking for some background, some information on what I could do. I love bodyboarding. I fused those two together, and that's where I came up with the idea. So it's kind of like just kind of went from there.
Where's home for you?
Home is Ormond Beach, Florida.
Okay.
So
Yeah, and I mean, you're not you 20 years ago, you were what? How old were you?
yeah, like I'm 67 now, dude. I'm old. So yeah, I was like, 50, something like that. Took it up after I had sort of semi-retired. Actually did digital film production business down here in Ormond Beach. So I did that for a few years, started a little business, and always kind of, that's what I said, I always kind of wanted to gravitate into that kind of a business. And I worked for Valvoline Oil Company and motorsports and grouse racing and NASCAR and some other things, and was in marketing and stuff. And then just kind of transitioned out of that as I semi-retired. And then I decided doing some writing and some fun stuff like that, and it all fused into it. And then you hooking me up with Tom kind of like was weird. It's like a serendipity sort of thing that just kind of came together. And Tom and I just really hit it off. It was kind of like one of those things. It was, kind of a fatish type of deal. Just kind of came together. It was pretty cool.
How did you guys communicate? Were you guys on like a video chat or did you guys just talk on the phone?
All phone, all phone. Yeah, it was like first call. Actually, I wrote that down. Was what? January or July 6th, 2020. So we must have hooked up shortly just before that, because I didn't. I called him up shortly after you called me and said, "Hey, here's his number, and go ahead and try to give him a call, see if you can hook up with him and whatever." So, and then
Yeah.
the last call I had with him was in September of 2020. So, and we had 8 sessions sort of in between that, and it started off a little, feeling each other out. Tom's like, is this guy for real? How many kooks are going to call me about, making, doing the Morey boogie? And it just worked out. I mean, I think about 15 minutes into it, Tom liked to play with my head a little bit because he was kind of a gamer kind of guy, and so I'm kind of like there as well, right? So we kind of were doing our thing. And 15 minutes into it, he was like, "Oh, I gotta go," and he hung up. He said, "Call me back." And in 5, and I gave him a call back, and I could tell he was like, "Okay, you called me back. That's a good thing, because most people probably wouldn't, I guess." And from there, we just kind of got to know each other. And by the third session, things really, we just kind of clicked. At the third session, it got real, and we got into some serious stuff. So it was really good. Yeah.
Was it difficult to get a hold of him? Like, or did he?
Not really. I think you had done some prep work there, if I'm not mistaken. And Marcia answered the phone,
Yeah.
and I put that. I kind of sent you that. I gave you the first chapter, so you kind of know what's going on. But that first chapter was like she answered the phone and kind of gatekeepered it. It's kind of like, who's this guy? Is he for real? And we talked a little bit. But once I got a hold of Tom and on the phone, and once we got comfortable with each other, and he knew I was kind of the real deal, he was like, okay, let's get to work. So, and he was super gracious, man. I mean, it was like, and I can honestly say he just really enjoyed. I mean, at that time of his life, because he had. We're talking about maybe a year or so later. He had, and I don't know about his health and what was going on, but he really enthusiastically enjoyed reminiscing about his life at that point. So timing was everything. It's just things happen, the way it goes.
When I mean, when I talked to you and we were chatting, you were pretty passionate, to get something put together, and I thank you for that because I feel like nobody really has put in that amount of time and effort to do so. But what was it like when for you, when you were getting in that, that first initial getting to know each other? Was it like a starstruck kind of feeling, or were you like, oh shit, is this really happening? Or what was
Yeah,
going through your mind as you were?
yeah. I'm not a big starstruck guy. I've had a history of my dad being a sports writer in Boston, and just not a big starstruck guy. So it wasn't that, but it was more of a personal connection that really kind of set us off. And it was just, as he kind of got real, he almost like wanted to unleash a bunch of his life at that point. I think as he had told me, he said, I just had a bunch of people that used to call me, and they were hacks. They didn't really know what they were doing. And by the time we sort of got into it, I think he figured out that I wasn't really a hack. I was passionate, and any passion I had, he appreciated, and that passion translated into me really, really getting serious about what I was doing. And once we came to that, it was all good. So yeah.
Awesome. So during my interview, can you hear me?
I can. You're frozen, but I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, just as long as you can hear me, that's fine.
I can hear you.
Um,
You're good. You're back. You're moving.
okay. Um, yeah, during my interview, I think we agreed we'll talk some bodyboarding and some history, but he made it clear that he wanted to talk about his things and what he wanted to like share with the world. And I'm like, deal, like no problem. And I feel like we talked about maybe 10% bodyboarding and 90% I love the stuff that he talked about, levitation, a new numeric symbol system, and
Universal numbers, right?
did he
Universal
did you
language.
did you get into that in the book?
I didn't get into that into the book. We got into him transitioning over to, let's say, the Baha'i faith that he went into, which and a lot of the tenets of that religion are the universal numbers and a lot of these things that he believed in. So, but we didn't get specifically into that. We got into his background in his life as a child, what influenced him as a child, kind of transitioned out of that into what led him to we did a lot about Malibu in the early days and how the surfboard industry kind of affected why he went to Hawaii when Maury Pope was kind of doing their thing, and he gravitated to people he had known that shaped his future at USC. He and his mind was so on it. I mean, he was so graphic and detailed. And the way the book is structured, it's kind of like, I use his anecdotes and his quotes throughout the book. And then what I do is sort of guide the story and kind of keep him on track through that whole thing. So it's his words, man. I mean, I basically, took the recordings and fixed them and transcribed them down exactly as if you knew Tom and you would read these quotes, you would be like, oh yeah, well, that's Tom. I mean, you could just tell the way he talks. He has this unique way of communicating, and so that's how it's structured through. So all the way through till the boogie board, and then he really wanted to be known for so much more than the boogie board. He just wanted to be known for all the other things he had done. And then after the boogie board, we continued that through his trip to Washington, how he got back to California, some things with Mattel that happened later in life. So it's a pretty comprehensive thing from beginning to end. So it kind of worked out really well, actually. Yeah.
How long were each of the phone calls? Did you guys talk for minutes, hours?
So I'd say the first phone call was kind of brief, and 15, and then I called him back, maybe another 15. The second one was pretty good. The third one was a little. They started to get over an hour, and it's funny because I'd be like, dude, are you okay? I mean, I'm all good for it's your schedule, not my schedule. So whenever he's like, no, I'm good, man. Just keep going and doing what we're doing. So the hour conversations, we squeezed in a lot of stuff. I did a lot of listening, but I asked a lot of questions. And one of the things he really appreciated was just me digging into his life, that and asking him things that no one else asked him, that prompted him into stories that he had either forgotten or typically wouldn't tell, And that was one of the things we had talked about. It's like, we really both did not want to do just the boogie board story. It had been done a million times. He was kind of like toward the end of the thing, he was like, I don't even want to say boogie board anymore. He had gotten to that stage, You can imagine 50 years of like, telling the same old story and doing his thing. He's like, and so he appreciated, I think, all the peripheral stuff in his life that we talked about, and that completed him as Tom Morey, other than just, let's say, doing the boogie board. So it was fun. Starstruck, no, but man, I was enthused. I was really into it, and I just feel so grateful that I was like one of the last guys in his serendipitous life. I mean, it's kind of a weird thing the way it worked out, but we hit it off, and for those 3 months, we had a super tight relationship, and then I really, we both didn't really talk to each other after that. It was kind of like we were super close, and then I did off my thing, went and did my thing, and that was it. So I'm kind of sorry he's not around to see the book. I know he would have loved it, but I did finish the screenplay first, and now I'm doing the book. So
okay, and the screenplay, what does that entail?
So the screenplay is like a biopic of Tom's life. So my original vision when I called you was like, I want to do a screenplay, right? So I wanted to do a movie of Tom and do that whole thing. And that's what I was kind of talking to Tom about as we originally started this thing. And it was just a script. It's a spec script that typically Hollywood would look at and see if they were interested in the story of Tom Morey. And as Tom and I got into it over the months that we talked about it, we were like, this thing has so many legs to it, it's ridiculous. I mean, we could do a book. He wanted to do a mini series.
Oh, he wanted to.
Oh yeah. No, he was like, dude, this could be like, a 10-part deal, because as you go through the book, he's got all these from his childhood all the way through, and his stories about Mexican restaurants and everything else, and the characters in there are just, it could be a really good story. So, and so the screenplay was something I had actually done based on all the work that I had done after I was done with Tom. And then I just kind of set it aside for a while, and I just took a break. My mind needed to be cleared out. And then, like, in December, last December, I was like, I don't know, how it's weird. Things just pop in your head and you get motivated again. You kind of get that passion and energy again. It's a good way that I kind of, gave it some time off because that gave me a new perspective. I went through all the tapes again, totally. Logged everything totally and kind of organized everything. I had made a bunch of mistakes, I think, in the screenplay with some details on because Tom was kind of would muddle through some things every now and then, and I'm super not surfer guy. I mean, I love it and everything, but I needed to do my homework to make sure my facts were right. And so that's that. So now we're doing the book, and now it's kind of a complete circle of everything. And yeah, we'll see where it goes. It's a great story, so I hope people enjoy it. Definitely is pulling all his life together. I think they'll find it interesting for sure.
I pre-ordered my book, but it wasn't expensive at all. Like I mean, you're not obviously you could have put any price tag on it. People would buy it. Why did you set the price so low?
Yeah, Tom and I talked about it. Tom was the kind of guy that just really, it wasn't about the money, to be quite honest with you. And as we went through it, 490. I think it's $4.99 for the Kindle, and $12.99 I think for the paperback, which I thought was pretty reasonable. I mean, it's my first deal with publishing, so we're not making the whole goal here is not to make a ton of money. The whole goal here is to sell a bunch of books and get the word out. And if something comes of it, great. If people love it, great. If Hollywood feels like they want to make a movie of Tom Morey, great. And or if we all just want to go bodyboarding and hang out, great. It doesn't really matter,
I mean, I can see some possibly happening only because there's there's some murmur going around that bodyboarding in the Olympics 32 in Australia possibly.
That'd be awesome.
And it would be amazing to have the books already out, but to have like something leading up to that, which would be either a movie, a series, or whatever would be perfect.
Yeah,
There's
no,
time.
it has a ton of legs. It absolutely does because it has so many. If you wanna look at it from Hollywood's point of view, right? It's got so many merch opportunities. It's got so many tie-ins to board opportunities. It's got so many tie-ins to surf and the culture opportunities. So it does, and you got Tom in the middle of it with a great story. So it could lead up. It could lead up to something, and I hope it does. For the story needs to be told. It's just a great story, and I've been watching some of the pipe stuff, and I mean, I just forgot how cool that stuff is, man. It's like friggin' off the hook. It's funny because I'm like I'm saying, 67, and I live in Florida, so our waves are like. I'm lucky. A hurricane has to come through here for me to get anything at all, especially something that doesn't close out in about 2 seconds, where I'm nosediving like 100% of the time almost, right? But sometimes I get the vector board out with my fins on it, my interchangeables, and sometimes we get a nice rip, and sometimes I have fun. But Florida waves are nothing like you guys have, right? But you look at the pipe, and those guys are so ballsy. I mean, it's like. I feel bad. I can't drop into a 5-foot wave in Florida, and these guys are dropping into like 20-footers on. It's crazy stuff, man. I love
Did you
it.
watch the whole event?
I didn't, but I've been watching. I catch everything on either Instagram or YouTube, and I'm watching all the key moments and Tubbs and all those guys. And they're all doing their thing and having a good time and dropping
Yeah.
in, and it's a world. The other thing is, it's just a worldwide international sport. I mean. It's not like it's just us. It's just all over the place. So yeah, it doesn't have a lot of like. Plus, and I was telling somebody else, it's like there's a lot of surf festivals, surf film festivals out there, and it'd be nice to maybe have a movie there. And I went to a surf film festival here in New Smyrna Beach. It's called the Florida Surf Film Fest, and they had their first bodyboarding short not too long ago, which was so awesome, man. It was so cool.
Who put it
And
together?
huh?
Who put that little clip together?
That was Shane. Was it Shane Ackerman? Is that name familiar? Shane,
Yeah.
Australian Shane, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a little short movie about his deal and how he just loves bodyboarding. He does his thing, and this guy gets slam like I mean like slam, and he's a crazy dude, but he just loves it, and just really exciting stuff. It's all good. I love it. It's all good.
Awesome. I mean, to bring it all full circle, what would be the ideal situation to see where this blossoms to? Do you want to see the movie? Do you want to see a series? Do you want to see them both? What would you like? What would you like to see?
Yeah. So personally, I mean, I think it would be better as a feature. I think I don't know. It would have to be the writing would have to be there. There had to be an arc to the story. So if you did a mini series, it would have to be like an arc through a mini series, and I guess that could be done if it was written properly. Um, my personal preference would be probably to do a screenplay and to do a full motion picture because it takes Tom from when he was a young kid and a hot percussionist, jazz percussionist, and through college and jazz times and the whole deal with Malibu and shaping and the whole surf scene and transitions through into the 60s and then into the 70s, where it's the boring dude, the boring board in the 70s and then out into the 80s. So it just has a huge arc to it. And I just think that would probably be what I would like to see preference wise, but it could go many different directions if somebody wanted to do a mini series of some sort, we could figure out how to write it and get the arc right. I think would be good.
I have no idea how the movie industry works, but if let's say you have the screenplay, who do you take it to, and what are the steps to it to materialize to something like that?
So you and I are, I'm kind of a novice at this too, right? So I'm going to admit that this is kind of like something new to me as well, right? But typically what I've done, just to get some feedback, I kind of got back on the promotion train a little bit and I've submitted it to some script writing contests, try to get some feedback through the industry that way. I've sent, when Tom and I were doing this, I actually had sent I finished the treatment when Tom was still around. We were still communicating through that 3 months. And I had done the treatment and I had sent it to the green light. And they have, you can submit it to them. They circulate it through a bunch of production companies. And I got no's from like all 10 of them. It was like, yeah, good luck, but it's not what we do, or we do something different, or whatever. At that point, the script hadn't been written yet, just the treatment. And I think at that point,
What
I
is
was
the
even
treatment?
saying, yeah. Sorry?
What is the treatment?
So the treatment's like this short little, let's say, 2-pager on what the whole movie would be. So it's right. So it's condensed into this 2-page sort of synopsis of what might happen. And so I submitted that. That's what you submit to, let's say, the green lights before you write the script. And so that kind of didn't pan out very well. But I did do the screenplay and submitted that. So I think that's like in later on mid this year. I think we're supposed to see where that goes. So the steps are just trying to pitch it to Hollywood. You got to find somebody that you want to pitch it to. And I'm probably not as aggressive and as good as I should be at pitching screenplays to Hollywood, but it's something new to me. So I think that maybe is the next step. I think the first step for me was to get the book out, is to make sure that I get all my facts right, kind of clean that up from what I did back in the day. And then once that's all cleaned up, the book's out, and we get some, hopefully good reviews on the book, then that generates the buzz, and I can use the buzz from the book to do whatever and get to that next step. So that's kind of where we're at.
I really believe in the not only the 6 degrees of separation, but even 3 degrees of separation. I know for a fact between us that we're just a couple steps from being in contact with the right person who could either look at it or take it to the people that should be looking at it. I mean, Chris Juan Taloa, he's a bodyboarder. He's freaking an icon from the 90s, part of my generation, and he's in Hollywood. He's been in a movie or two, he will definitely have, some connections or some people that you could talk to. Another friend of ours was, I don't know if he has the right contacts, but he was a personal bodyguard for two of the most iconic movie stars in Hollywood. He may have some contacts, but after this, I'll send you their information. You can just reach out and see if you'd like, see if there's anything they could do. But and this would be, I would be, I'd be the first one to get a ticket the screening of that. So
You would
yeah.
deserve it since you were the guy that hooked me up. So I got to give you some. I know you're shaking your head, but at the end of the day, though, it all like you said, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 degrees from separation, and like you were the first one to really kind of, hey, let's try to hook up and do our thing. So I definitely appreciate that, man. I mean, you're right on the forefront of the first ticket without a doubt, no doubt about it.
And I appreciate it. I did read, you accidentally sent me something rather than the other thing. And I was able to read, I don't know which one it was on, but I did read the props that you gave me, and I appreciate that. And yeah, I'm excited to dig into the book. And so when is it available? April?
So April 1st, the paper, they're both available April 1st. So you can pre-order the ebook, but Amazon's kind of funky. I've been on the Amazon. A couple of people have told me they've pre-ordered it, and I look at these report things that they send me and whatever, and it's showing 0. So I don't know if it's a glitch that you pre-order them and nothing happens until it comes out, or whether I've been reading some things that the reporting is like 3 months behind, and that's when you get the data. I don't know, man. All I know is, if you like it, order it, and if you like it, review it, and honest reviews. I'm not looking for any sugarcoating shit. I'm just looking for all about just what you honestly think, because that helps us as storytellers, and then go from there and see what we can come up with. So let me tell you. So before, your history with bodyboarding? Tell me a little bit about like your era, like the Mike Stewart era, where are you in that whole
Well, Mike Stewart's part of every era. I mean,
thing?
he's still in it 100%. So props to that guy. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
no
was there from
kidding.
the
It's
very
it's
beginning. He's still in it now, competing, commentating. He's present 100%, and pretty stoked on that. But no, Mike Stewart, Pat Codwell, Jack Lindholm, JP Patterson, Keith Sasaki, Jay Real, they were that first generation. Daniel Kaimi, those Dean Marzol, like those guys were that first generation. I want to say I probably was the next one after that. They were the 70s, 80s guys. I was like early 90s through the 90s with, Paul Roach, Ross McBride. We were, I want to say, the golden years. They were obviously the pioneers, and towards the end of the 80s into the 90s, there a lot of them were on those corporate dollars, just making good money and traveling the world.
Mhm.
We showed up and we tapped into a little bit of that, but not as much as they were. But there was other companies that were, throwing money at the sport, and we rode the coattails for that till the mid 90s. And then the clothing companies pulled out, so we had to like find other means for sponsorships when the Quicksilvers and Billabongs pulled out. Um,
Was
but
that something that, I mean, did they pull out because there was this transitioning from some other sport, or they just couldn't squeeze it all in, or viewership died, or because I think there was some associations too that were fragmenting in the bodyboard industry, right? You had a couple of like different types of associations, like the IBC or the, I don't know, I can't remember what they were, but
I think it might be so. It might be as mundane as, oh shit, bodyboarding is becoming more cooler than surfing. We better pull out. That is the mentality I think that was taken, because they were all surfers and they probably felt threatened. And even though we were like we were too big. We were too big for the surfing industry. That is the story that I've heard plenty of times, and I'm
Mhm.
going to stick to it because it seems pretty on point. I mean,
Right.
bodyboards were outselling surfboards, and it was taking over. And all it took was one or two surfers to say, yeah, this is not cool. And just those words like rippled through the surf industry, and they're like, oh, okay, well, Franken, we're done. So the clothing companies were the ones that were writing the $1 million checks to Kelly Slater and all these other pros. So they
Mhm.
were making that 400% profit on their merchandise, where the boards were making 40% profit. And once the surf industry, surf cloth brands pulled out, it was up to the board manufacturers to fill that gap, and their profit margins aren't like, those guys. So it slowly, declined as far as being in the mainstream, in the eyes of the global network. It all became smaller as far as regional sponsors and, national sponsors instead of global sponsors like the clothing companies. But
Where do you think it stands today? Then where do you think it seems like there's sort of a renaissance of it coming back, or some sort of a. It just seems like it's coming, not like to the degree of surfing and whatever, but it does seem like it's making a comeback a little bit. Is that a fair assessment?
I don't think it ever left. I think the core body of bodyboarding and it never disappeared. In fact, I think the core just got a little bit bigger and more bulgy in certain areas around the globe, and especially around those coastlines where it offers up bodyboarding waves. Chile, for example, they have coastlines of perfect barreling reef waves. There's a shit ton of bodyboarders there.
Mhm.
Um, Hawaii, you got bodyboarders, coming out from every crack of the reef because those are bodyboarding waves, and that you don't get that in California, and probably not in Florida either.
Oh God, no, definitely not in
Yeah,
Florida.
yeah. So there are pockets of bodyboarders along the coast that could offer, high performance, the caliber of riding at the global scale. But those world champions are coming out of these areas where they are susceptible to these slabby reef waves, Australia, Hawaii, Chile, um, and the Canary Islands. So all these places that have bodyboarding waves, they're the ones that are producing these high caliber riders. Um,
Well,
so did it go away? I don't think it went away, but I think it just needs organization from the bottom up. There's not a roadmap for a kid down the street to say, okay, I'm going to compete in this amateur series, which will lead me to this regional series that will lead to this national series that I can become part of the world tour.
right,
That I think that has to become a little bit more organized
right.
before the Olympics for sure, because
Yeah,
right now,
you need a developmental league for sure of some sort that's organized, and you're still
yeah,
competing against. When you get into that, then you're still competing at the local levels against surfing and everything else. I mean, around here, I go to a surf contest, and they throw a bodyboarding thing in there, but it's 90% surfing and 10% bodyboarding. So you do your thing, but
yeah.
yeah,
It's tough, but I think that's what needs to happen is the ISA would probably be the one to spearhead that, to be able to create a system of, okay, you got to do this and this to be able to get here and to be able to represent your country in the Olympics. I mean, there has to be that path, uh, put in place sooner than later, because if
yeah,
the, 2032 is going to be here sooner than we think. And if that isn't in place, then I'm sure the people at the Olympics want to see, oh, what is this sport? Is it just a fad, or is there organization? And
Yeah,
I think that has to be implemented sooner than later.
I agree with that.
The world tour, I mean, it's there. They just have some fine tuning that needs to be done, and some consistency. Um, but to be able to create that path for anybody to become the world champion, um, uh, I think has to be in place. But right now, I think it's good. It's good to be a bodyboarder, especially with the pipeline event, just to make sure and understand that the caliber of riding is still there, even in the juniors. The junior bodyboarders is mind blowing because they're doing the same shit as the world champs.
Dude, I tell you, the women are kicking it as well. It's
Totally.
really they're friggin' impressive. You got to give them kudos, man. So I agree
Yeah.
with you. I just think it just needs to be first of all, you need a ton of money. Because you do need money to make that happen. But it's not all about the money because then at that point you need a good foundation in place. You need organization. You need leaders at all levels. You need a plan. It's a strategy to move forward. It gets complicated, and you know it's hard to bring all that together and then get the money and then get the right people in place. So hopefully they'll figure it out. And hey, maybe a movie would be just what we need to kind of get this excitement up to a certain level where worldwide everybody's like, yeah, bodyboarding, man, rock and roll. So
Yeah.
we'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
That's what we're crossing our fingers with is the Coca-Colas and the Red
I
Bulls.
feel the weight. I feel the weight here, man. It's like, I can't save the world, but I sure can give it a try, see what happens. But it's all a collective effort, all of us together that love the passion of the sport. And, so what's your favorite board right now? What are you riding?
Um, Cartel is the brand that has been supporting me in the after years.
Okay.
And PMA Pete Anaya up here in Oceanside, he shapes the boards for me. And I am so grateful for Paul Clare and PMA, Paul Clare from Cartel and PMA over at Custom X to be able to like still support me.
Nice.
I don't have it here, but um, yeah, whenever I need a drop knee board, PMA does whatever he can to get it in my hands before the
So now
next.
are you a drop knee or a prone? What's your deal? Drop
Yeah,
knee.
no, I do both, but I mean, I love drop knee, and I've been doing that, the whole time. I
Yeah.
saw Sasaki when he was like the first brown, bodyboarder that I saw. I'm like, oh, I'm brown too, and if he can do it, I think I can do it too. So
Cool,
he
man.
was my mentor, and I emulated him on across the board. And but I do like to prone on left, which would be my backside, and I'd rather prone than backside and blow the wave. But and then there's a couple other companies that hook me up with other stuff too, product DMC fins. They're the
Mhm.
guy who worked at Hydro Fins back in the day. Don McCready decided to do his own thing, and he's in Australia. So DMC Fins, they hooked me up with some free gear. And
Are you
then
familiar with Ronin bodyboards? Ronin?
yeah, I
Yeah.
think they're one of the shapers out of the Tubes factory.
Jason Buckmaster,
Yep.
who yes, used to do some stuff with I guess uh, Buzz, and who just
Yep.
recently passed, and
Yep.
Nick. Yeah, so I have three. I have three of those. So I locked into him and did some custom stuff with him as well. And I like to experiment with the tails. I like to do the bad tails and the crescents, and then just kind of figuring it all out and having some fun. But I'm not at that level where I can get in the water with different boards, and again, we're in Florida, so it is what it is. But just trying to have fun on different ways with different boards, and
Bring your boards, pack them up,
I
bring
would
your
love to go on a
boards,
trip with you, man. I am telling
come with
you,
us to Cabo.
I'm so stoked that to be able to do that. I'm trying to talk my wife into let me escape, and she's like, "You'll never come home alive." And I'm like, "These guys are gonna protect me, right? You guys gonna, get the 70-year-old out there, and I'm not gonna drop into a jagged, reef and kill myself. I just feel like I feel like I can go, and it won't be a problem, but." I would love to do that without a doubt. Believe me. I mean, I am dying to get on any kind of a point break wave away from Florida to give me the opportunity to increase your skills on a wave. Because here, like I said, they break out in 2 seconds. It's close out. You're done. And
Yeah,
it's challenging. I will say it's cool, and I mean, it presents a whole other challenge. But on those days, those few days where we have, just the end, and just breaking and just doing some ripping, it's fun, definitely. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, we spend most of our time on a sandbar. It breaks on the outside, and you can ride it into the shore break if you want. And I would never like, I don't, your limits. If we do roll up and it is 6 to 8 foot, I do have people sitting on the beach and watching, and there's no shame in that. I mean, if anything, I'm going to put a camera in your hand and say, okay, take photos, don't miss the shot.
Yeah,
But
right. No, if it's
yeah,
it's 6 to 8, and I think I have some coaching. Yeah, man, I never know. I mean, it's one of those things where you surf what you're used to, right? So I'm used to floor. I mean, I'm not used to getting out into the huge surf. If I lived where there was huge surf, I'd be used to huge surf. I mean, it's just the way it is. So you got to get that comfort level up to where you drop in a few times and know what to expect. That's the key. It's like anticipating what to expect, the speed, the wave, the power that you're not used to that catches you by surprise. And then, I usually, catch it and drop in and just kind of, but, I don't have time to take a long, turn on the bottom because it's all gone. It's all whitewashed at that point. So,
tell you what, if you are able to pull off Cabo, I will put and you can bring your wife. I mean, if you want to bring her, I'll put you up in the nicest room in the hotel that we have. You
okay.
come ride with us. She can come with us in the wee hours of the morning, or she can sleep in. And then when we
No,
get
she won't leave me alone. She's coming.
okay, so we go when we get back from our surf, you guys can go take off and ride camels, ride horses on the beach, ATV, do whatever you want.
Take
Um,
naps, man. We're old. We take naps. That's what we do.
okay, perfect, because
After I
that's what we
bodyboard
do
all
too.
day, I'm tired.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. We nap, and if the winds are down, we go back to the beach and try to get more waves. But
Nice.
most of the time, we're at the beach from early morning till about 11-ish, and that takes it out of us. Not only we're wave riding, but we're in the sun, we're walking, and
Yeah,
it's a lot. So we just take a nap, we wake up, and then we go have dinner. It's actually pretty cool.
sounds like another
We'll
day
talk
for
more
us.
about it, but I think you would have an amazing time.
Yeah, I know I would. All
All
right.
right. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking the time. Um, and yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to dive into it.
Yeah, and thank you so much for helping make this all happen. So not only this, but helping getting the word out, and to the point where you were really instrumental in hooking me up with Tom. You are so I definitely will always remember that and appreciate that. So we're in this together. Yeah, the book should be out like April. This is like one of the I don't know, is my camera
There
doing
we
it?
go.
You
There we
got
go.
it. It's like so the book's real. It's out. It's this is my mock-up copy that they send me so I can proof it and everything. Believe it or not, I've been editing this thing just up until like yesterday. I'm trying to make sure that I am super pro and there's no mistakes and it's all good. So we should be good
Can
to
you
go.
can you edit it still?
Yes, they can let you edit up until I think March 26th.
Oh,
So I
nice.
have, yeah. So, I'm like on my 20th edit, it's like, but at the end of the day, who cares if there's 100 edits? As long as when that date comes, you feel good that it's the best it can be. And I'm thinking I've let a few people around here read it in the neighborhood that have given me a ton of feedback. I got some neighbors who are really good editors grammatically because I suck at grammar. And so they helped me out with all that. So it's all good, man. But I'm looking forward to it. But again, thank you so much. Definitely appreciate everything you do. And this was fun, man. We'll see where it goes and enjoy the read for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, I pre-ordered the Kindle, but I didn't see the book option. I'll go back on there. I was just really quick to do so.
So
Or
the
did I
book
just
option on Amazon is not pre-orderable. So it's weird how it is. It doesn't even for some reason doesn't even really mention the paperback, but the paperback is going to launch and drop on April 1st with the ebook. The only thing you can pre-book is the ebook. And again, I'm not seeing any indication that people are doing it, but if they're doing it, that's awesome. And I will say one other thing. There's this thing called Goodreads. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but Goodreads, a lot of people who read books are a member of Goodreads. Amazon kind of owns Goodreads, I believe. But I do have an author page up there, and we're running a promotion right now on Goodreads where they're giving away 100 free Kindle ebooks. And you can register to win one of 100. So last time I looked, there was only like 180 or 200 people that have registered. So the odds are pretty good if you want to go ahead and register, get the word out on that as well. But it's all good.
Goodreads.
Yeah, I can send you the link. It's good. If you look up Goodreads and then just search me, you'll be fine. But it's Goodreads. Yep.
Send me the link.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right, man.
Thank you so much. But you know what? I'm looking over here. I was talking about the people that still support me, even though I'm in the, outside of the scene. But another brand from Spain, they like really look after me as far as sending me product whenever I need it. But the guys at Thrash International, they made a leash, gosh, I don't know how many years ago. And it looked like the brand that I had in the 90s called Boarding Snacks. And I looked at it, I'm like, this is freaking awesome. And I immediately messaged him. I'm like, this is freaking whatever I can do to help.
Is it like a coil leash, an arm coil leash?
Yeah, Thrash International. I'll send you the link, but they're really good people. And I think you can get them at the foam company. I think J-Reel and e-bodyboarding. Yeah, but so I want to thank those guys too, even though this, I have to throw it in there because
dude, you throw as much as you want to. We thank everybody that helps out.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, I'm excited. I will give you more details on how this all works, but man, thank you once again for taking the time.
No, my pleasure, man. Thanks, Manny. All right, man. Later, dude.
Okay. See you later.
Okay, man.